Gone are the days of formal etiquette. So what do you do in the situations you find yourself in every day, including when you go on vacation to Norway and see your podcasting partner for the first time in person in about 7 years? Sophia, it is so good to see you.
Vivian, it is so good to see you.
We decided we'd last seen each other in Irvine, California 7 years ago and talked at length, especially recently, since then. But here we are. We decided to go on vacation. We're recording this from our hotel room in Oslo, Norway. Delighted.
I am very delighted. How are you doing, Vivian?
I am doing well, and the funniest thing is that you know exactly how I'm doing because we've spent the last couple days together. As you know, we met up in Stavanger, Norway, where we went to Norway Chess, which is still on. Let's describe our involvement in chess a little bit, actually. That sounds so fancy when I say our involvement in chess. But how it began was once upon a time, there was a World Chess Championship. Mm-hmm. And you were very excited about it.
I was.
And I had not a clue of what was going on.
But you were very game.
I was excited that you were excited. So, all right, let's back up a little bit. You have played chess and liked chess and watched chess for how long?
Played chess since I was a child, badly. Watched chess for the past 2 years. And I think you witnessed the 2 years that I watched it. I watched it intermittently before then, but nothing, nothing
really?
regular. Yeah.
I felt like you were pretty frequent.
Oh, I was frequent because that was all I was doing for the 2 years that you saw me start doing it. No, but I'd watched some before, but not with any regularity. I wasn't following any of the tournaments. Mm-hmm. But yes, following tournaments 2 years.
You got into it more during COVID, like many people, or after?
It was after. It was when I moved into my apartment for the first time.
Ah.
And I needed I needed sound in the background, and it was I realized how much I enjoyed having it in the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were watching chess, World Chess Championship 2023 happened.
2023, yes.
Yeah.
And then you were subject to all of my thoughts and feelings and excitement.
And I couldn't believe how long it was going. Like, we would talk, like about once a week, and I would kind of think, like, must be over by now. And I'd say, okay, how's chess? And you'd be like, oh, game 7. And I, as someone who was fully uninitiated, I knew how to play chess like everyone knows how to move the pieces, but, you don't know what the competitive scene is like. And I could not believe this was going on for so long, like week after week.
I remember you learned, you were actually part of it with me because we were watching recap videos together. Or not together, but you had Ding and you had his second, and we were sort of talking about them, and there was videos of them.
Yeah, you were telling me like when their games got leaked.
Yeah.
And you told me, and it was one of those times where someone sent me many messages and I had no idea what they meant. And you knew this, and you explained them.
Oh, did I?
You did. And sometimes you would send me a video and I would watch it and I would still not know what was going on. But I greatly enjoyed your enjoyment of it.
Thank you.
And that was how you got me into watching competitive chess.
I love that that's how it happened.
Yeah, I think it was maybe game 12, like the last game before tie breaks was the one I watched.
I think so. I think so.
First time I ever watched a game of chess, like a professional tournament game of chess, and since then we've been hooked. We are happy spectators. You were a much better player than me.
Thank you, but we can talk about it later. But we played together on a train, and you trounced me. I had to resign.
Well, I usually have to resign so early. But anyway, okay, so besides that, we're into it. We're happy fans. We are delighted, and it was sort of like a little dream of ours for a while to go watch a chess tournament in person. And we decided, Stavanger, Norway, here we come. And so that was a couple days ago. And then we got on a train from Stavanger to come to Oslo, where we had the loveliest train ride. Our train was technically canceled and the one before it was delayed. So we got on the delayed train and it went. And they offered us free coffee because the train was delayed. And this has never happened to me anywhere in the world. And, I think it's extra, like, we love coffee.
We do.
So any free coffee already feels like a joyous gift. Mm-hmm. but no one has offered me, and it was the conductor who came to talk to us, individually, and no one has so apologetically offered free coffee as sort of, they felt so bad that our train was delayed. And it was a wonderful train.
It was a wonderful train. And our train was actually not even that delayed. It was just 10 minutes or so.
So, because the previous train was delayed 3 hours. Yeah. And then when we got it left, less than half an hour after our train was supposed to depart. So we were even barely delayed at the beginning. I think by the time we got in, the delays had built up a little bit. But we had a lovely train ride. And that brings us to Oslo, where we went to the Good Night. What is the Good Night, Sophia?
The Good Night is a bar. It's a chess bar. And I think it markets itself as, and probably is, the first chess bar.
The first chess pub in the world.
The first chess pub in the world. I think at this point it's chess/poker, because they do have...
They have nights.
They have nights?
Yeah.
Poker nights? Okay.
Oh, nights. They have nights.
They have nights, too.
They have a variety of night events.
Yes,
and when we went last night, we were so excited to go and watch Norway chess being broadcast in, a place, and they were playing poker, and all the TVs in the room were saying which round it was, and we were a little sad. But anyway, so we show up. There's no food there, but you can bring your own food. So we show up with we're carrying this huge bag of falafel and French fries, and we get our drinks and we sit down at a table. All the tables have chessboards on them, and this is where we talk about our week. We have a great chess cheating scandal story. So we sit down and we start scarfing because we're so hungry. It's 8 p.m. or something by the time we're there. And next to us, there are two guys playing, as one would expect in a chess bar. The guys playing everywhere, but we happen to be sitting really close to these guys. And at some point, they started talking to us. Very early, they started talking to us and asking, do you want to play? And we were like, oh, we're going to eat first. We're a little shy. We're eating first. And can you remember what, the first things they were saying to us? Maybe, where are you from? That kind of thing?
I think the where are you from? I think one of the first things I remember being asked was what we did, which I found...
for work.
For work, which I remember reading in some etiquette thing is not something you should ask someone when you first meet them. And apparently how in Europe, and I guess this is, a generalization, people ask more what you like to do in your free time.
Really?
Apparently.
As an opening
instead of saying,
what do you do for work?
What do you do for work?
Well, this guy, Hans, I guess, did not read his European etiquette books because that was what he led with very hard.
Very hard.
We can actually take a little detour on this question. I also despise that question, and I respect people a lot when they don't ask it. But it's a putting people in a hierarchy. First, it's a way to learn a lot about a person quickly. I can see why people cut to that. It tells you a lot about a person if you know what their job is, but it also tells you very little about a person if you know what their job is, right?
Yeah.
Who wants to be so defined by it? Yes, you are, some people do, but it's not all of you, and there's no reason why it needs to be the first thing people know about you in a social setting, right? That's your professional identity. I like the use of other questions. I try not to ask it myself. I really try. I like us coming up with alternative, what do you like to do in your free time? Or even how was your day is I like it a little better. It's what have you done today?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't love the work question. He asked it very hard and fast at the beginning.
I'm glad you remember this. I remember being a little bit taken aback.
A little taken aback. It was very... And he seemed to really want to know.
Yeah.
As we described at length.
Yeah.
But, so these two guys, Hans and Christoph, are happily playing game, and we're watching them, and we're not exactly heckling, but we're kind of looking at,
we're eating our falafel
and maybe
drinking
being
our beer. Every now and then.
Bishop over there, really, but not really. But it was a very friendly environment. The two of them were drinking a lot, not a lot, but they were having. It was a friendly 5-minute game, and where did things start to pick up? I think they're asking us, next we meet, one more guy is sitting quietly behind them. And at some point, Hans and Christoph keep asking the two of us, hey, do you want to play? And we're like, we're eating, we were. And that guy who's sitting by himself pipes up something like, I'm here and I would like to play. That was it, right? It's like
That was
smiling, sitting by himself at a table. He had made eye contact with me at one point. In a way that I could tell was like, do you want to play a game? But I like looked back down at my sandwich.
Oh wow, I don't remember.
It was very brief. I mean, I was looking
okay.
around.
Yeah.
And I was thinking the etiquette that I have seen for pickup games like this is you sit at the chessboard, so you're ready. Maybe the pieces are even set up. And people come over and ask you, do you want a game? Or you can like flag down somewhere. You know, you can approach somebody.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I've seen it done that way. So I think he was being a little... And he's also a tourist this time. We find out he's here from Brazil. His name is Pablo. And... but he was trying really hard to get a game, and the other two guys were not playing with him.
They were not.
And then, as all of us are sitting mainly watching Hans and Christoph play, this guy walks into the bar, and he's sort of an older guy. He had a lot of, like, neck tattoos. Did you see that?
I
like
noticed
neck and ear tattoos?
Neck and ear tattoos. I noticed the neck and ear tattoos. And his hair, I think, was it I think there's something with his hair as well.
I can't quite remember his hair. I wasn't looking too closely at him. But his outfit we can describe. He was wearing this, like, weird... Was it a red tie?
It
like
was a short red tie.
A short, squat red tie.
Yeah, it was really short. Like, maybe, like, it would reach to his breast area, chest area.
Yeah, like like almost like a half tie.
It's a half tie. It was a half
in length,
tie. In length,
but
it
in
was
width.
Sort of it was a width. It
was a wide, squat red tie. And the rest of his outfit was sort of like, I don't know, like he had a jacket. I didn't get a good look at it. He wasn't like office
a waistcoat
attire.
Of some sort.
Something like that. It was a slightly odd ensemble.
Yeah.
And he comes right up to like our group who's sitting there. I think he stands quite close to you,
He's
right?
standing right next to where my bag is.
Yeah. He like put his hand on the table or something, right?
And then he looked down at my bag, and I had a moment where I was like, is he going to take my bag?
Yeah, I was looking. I was kind of watching.
Oh, you were watching my bag?
I was a little. I should have watched a little more. But anyway.
No, you were watching.
He's kind of looking at the game, and we thought he knew Hans and Christoph because they're regulars, they mentioned. He was kind of watching the game, didn't say anything to anybody. And so we thought, okay. And then suddenly he walks over to the game. They're still playing. And he starts like tapping squares along the back rank for Hans.
Yeah.
You remember that? He's like
he reaches over the
squares.
shoulder of Hans. Very close, yes.
Very close.
And starts to mutter something, but
Muttering.
it's in Norwegian.
It's in Norwegian. And at this point, was he playing? Oh, Hans was playing Pablo at this point.
Hans was playing Pablo?
Yeah, because all the rest of us didn't speak Norwegian.
That's true. Yes.
So we're all sitting there, and he starts poking squares, and then he and Hans are beginning to have this sort of like slightly heated-looking conversation. And I remember, I thought they were analyzing. I thought the guy was saying, "You should have done this move." He was doing it in a very like kind of like brusque, like it seemed like it was like, "You should have played this move. You shouldn't have done that. This is where you should have done this," or something. And the guy's arguing back, but it looks a little like the kind of conversation people have when they're in a disagreement about moves. It's not like heated. It's just like, no, this is the move. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, and I'd also assumed somehow that they knew each other. Because like you said, they're regulars. So I thought maybe it was one of those, he was disagreeing about the moves. He's going right up to him.
Yeah.
And Pablo was just as confused as you and I were.
Yeah, we were confused. Yeah, and Hans stopped the clock.
He stopped the clock?
He stopped the clock to turn and like fully speak with this guy. You see him stop the clock?
I didn't.
He stopped the clock. Which is another reason I thought maybe they were friends. I don't know, right? It looks kind of, it's such an unusual interaction. And then I do remember seeing squat tie guy like hit Hans on the back. I
didn't see that. I thought
he hit him on the back.
Like hit him?
It wasn't a super hard hit, but it was not like a placing his hand on the back. It was a little bit of a light.
Was it thwack?
A light thwack almost.
Okay.
A light thwack, if such a thing can be. It wasn't to hurt him, but it was like a forceful...
I'm glad you mentioned this right now, Vivian, because later on, Hans brought up this thwack on the back.
He brought up the thwack.
And I didn't quite believe him.
Oh,
I thought
no,
he was exaggerating.
There was a thwack.
There was a thwack.
There was a thwack. And that was the point, I think, when Hans like calls over the bartender. And... there's a little bit, like, I think they're, like, exchanging some language, which, some of it's in English, so I can tell. And then the bartender kind of, like, says something to the guy in the tie, barely even raising his voice. I still thought they were maybe friends, because it was kind of like it was probably like, hey, man, you can't do that here.
Yeah.
And then, like, the guy in the tie, like, yells at them some more, and then he leaves.
He leaves angrily.
He leaves angrily. He kind of stomps out.
He doesn't really look out. He just sort of, like, walks out.
Yeah, but we're also sitting near the door, so it's not like it's a brief entrance and exit. It's like a stage character.
It is. It was very... Yes, he walks in, interaction happens, walks out.
Yeah, walks out. And the three of us are sitting there and going, we don't speak Norwegian, so we're just like, what happened? What happened? And I think even Hans was going, what was that? What happened? And all of us are like, you tell us, we don't know. Poor sweet Pablo was trying to play his, his like, kind of like blitzy rapidy game. And so that's when he starts explaining, Hans goes, he accused me of cheating.
Oh.
And he's trying to find the word in English. His English is very good, but this is a bizarre technical term.
Yeah.
And how bizarre it is he goes something like, the guy accused me of double castling. So for people who don't watch chess, there's a move called castling where you get your king to safety. And at first when he was explaining it, I thought maybe he was trying to say, you have to move your king before you move your rook when you castle, according to official rules. And I was like, maybe the guy accused him of moving his rook before he moved his king, made an illegal move. Yeah, at first he was saying illegal move. He made an illegal move. And then he goes, no, he accused me of double castling. And all of us were like, what's that? And he said something, he said, I castled, and then I castled again. Why would I didn't do it. I didn't do it. He accused me of it. And you should tell this part because it was the best when and Hans was so innocently, earnestly saying, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't cheat. You saw me. I didn't do it. Yeah. And tell him what Pablo said.
Well, and then Pablo looks at him because as Hans insists, I didn't double castle. I didn't double castle.
Nope.
And then the more he said that, Pablo, was really earnest and, was actually very much enjoying, I think, playing because he'd been sitting in a corner wanting to play for so long. Looks at Hans and says, but Hans, even if you did, that would be okay.
It would be okay. It would be okay. And, which is very extra sweet of him, because I would say in a casual game like this, cheating is, no one would like cheating, but people would, let you take back a move, maybe. If you discuss it ahead of time, or, the touch, if you touch a piece and then you decide not to move it. I think many people would say, it's okay, go ahead, for a casual game.
Right.
Especially, the first game you play with a stranger. I think people would be okay, especially if you agree ahead of time. Yeah. But that was our great chess cheating scandal.
That happened within 20, 30 minutes of us walking into this bar.
More or less, yeah. And at the time, now that we debriefed it after, it's funny that we have slightly different versions. I was kind of on alert the whole time with the slightly weird guy. I just felt like something was a little off with him, even though I thought maybe he knew the guys. And you thought they were more friends. And I think when the kerfuffle was happening, I was a little alarmed and thinking I hope they don't get into a fight or what. Who knows what happens, you know.
I had a couple of reads on this, and I changed my mind intermittently. The first is, I don't know if you remember, but this man, we should have a name for this short tie man. It was a red tie. Yeah. It was a short red tie.
Do we need a name for him?
I don't know. He comes in. He actually sat on the couch that was behind me.
Really?
For a bit.
Okay.
So he was sitting on the couch, and then he was watching Hans for a little while.
Okay.
And then finally, it looked like he had thought about it a little bit. It looked like he was trying to formulate the interaction, is what it looked like. Okay. Then he got up. So he sat on the couch. Yep. Then he got up and then stood by me, watching Hans.
Stood by us,
for a while. And then started heckling Hans.
Kind of.
To me, it looked like when you are interested in somebody and you want to find a way to, break the ice.
Talk to someone in a friendly, sociable way.
That's what it looked like. So, it felt like he had sort of graduated his nearness. So, he started off in the couch bar, and then he came closer. But what I noticed is that he seemed troubled by how Hans would look at us from time to time, but had not looked at him. And so it almost felt like he was trying to get Hans's attention.
He did seem to single Hans out of everybody there. He seemed to really want to.
I think he wanted to interact with Hans. I think he kind of liked him. Which later on, when I told Hans, I think Hans seemed very taken aback by this theory.
Because also Hans didn't see, because he was engrossed in the game. He's back to the guy.
Yeah, and next thing he knows, he's being thwacked and being accused of double cheating or double castling.
Wouldn't it be funny if this guy was he was in the mood to accuse someone of cheating, let's say, and he's looking around, we're close to the door, he's like, all right, this man, I will accuse this man of cheating, and maybe he was watching and being like, all right, maybe he'll cheat, and then I'll tell him that he cheated, and then he didn't, and he's sitting there in his brain thinking, what shall I accuse him of? And maybe he's making up chess felonies,
Could be.
Maybe he has a whole repertoire of chess cheating moves that made up chess cheating moves.
Made up chess cheating. Can you imagine that? And then maybe he tries to get a fight, every night or every so often
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, maybe he even does this for a lot of bars and a lot of different games, because if he does this all the time at this bar, I don't think they would let him in. You know, like, they'll look out.
This is true. Mm-hmm.
So maybe he has, like, maybe he roams Europe.
Who knows? With this tie, you know.
But with his tie. But, what an interaction. I don't know if we have anything to say of the etiquette of chess cheating, except that, you know, don't make it up. I think that's as much as there is chess cheating. I think a thing a lot of players talk about is that what's most upsetting is it gets in your head and you start to think everyone is cheating. You know, not everyone, but you start to think many people, especially online, are cheating. Less over the board. You start to feel that people are cheating, but you don't want to be that person who accuses everyone of cheating.
Yeah.
But right before our very eyes, we saw
it happen. We saw it happen.
And I think that's about all we have to say on chess cheating etiquette. Obviously, don't cheat. Don't double castle kids at home. Don't try this. But there were some other aspects of the conversation that were just, A, very strange and funny, and B, lend themselves to other etiquette things. So I think we have the topic of how Hans walked into your prep, conversation-wise,
yes,
just to keep up the thematic
yes.
theme of tonight's night.
Yes.
Talk about you and Hans talking, because I think I started playing first. I was crushed, and I mean, it's fine. Like I'm not upset in any way, but I did think, okay, my last detour, but I did think it was very funny how we show up, they ask us if we want to play. You know, we're all like, we're not very good. I said I'm not very good. I just like watching. You know, I've only played for about a year or something, very, very intermittently. But everyone, when you do that, and you know, it's nice, but everyone thinks you're being modest. He goes, oh, I think she's very good. And as soon as I start, they're like, oh. As Pablo very kindly said, I wasn't, you know, he said this during the game very kindly, but he said, you know, I'm not even really attacking you. I'm just waiting for you to make mistakes, which I gamely did. But you and Hans talked a lot more.
Yeah, we talked a lot more while you and Pablo were playing. I think that Hans, this was after he was accused of cheating, right?
I think so, because we had not started playing by that point.
I think he was a little unsettled at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was still a little bit unsettled.
Yeah, it was an unsettling interaction. Especially if he's a regular at this bar. Poor guy, yeah.
But at some point he comes up to me, and he has his phone, and his phone has this alarm going off, and the alarm is going off at 4:30, which now that I think about it is strange, because it wasn't 4:30.
No.
It was at this point, I don't know, maybe not 8, maybe 8:30
at least,
or at least.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why a 4:30 alarm was going off, but it was actually going off. I could see it was going off.
What if he just snoozed it since 4:30?
Could be. Maybe he keeps snoozing it. Okay, well, let's tell you what this alarm was for. So he shows me this alarm that starts at 4:30 that potentially kept snoozing, and all it said is memento mori. And he looks at me, he brings up this phone to my face, and he says, do you know I have an alarm that says this to me every day at 4:30? And then I took out my phone and I said, well, do you know, Hans, I have an app that reminds me 5 times a day that I'm going to die. And then he looked at me and he says, oh, you're so prepared. You have an app. I just have an alarm. And I was almost tempted to tell him, yes. And I paid 99 cents for this app, and I never pay for apps. But I didn't say that part.
You, knowing that we could die at any time and that material possessions and wealth are fleeting, laid down 99 American cents for this app. Which I think is free, right? Like, I downloaded it for a while after you were so into it.
I think it became free later.
Oh,
It wasn't free back when I downloaded it several years ago. I even had this several years ago. Unlike Hans, who knows when.
Yeah. You were in, what do they call it? An early adopter.
An early adopter.
Yeah, do you want to talk about this app just a little bit? It's
a very simple app. So
it's
5 times a day.
It's called
We Croak.
And the icon is
it's frog.
Yes,
it's a red frog.
I love that.
I didn't know, by the way, that We Croak. I didn't know the whole frog.
You didn't even know that croak means like die.
No,
colloquially.
didn't know. I just thought it was very random and that
whimsical.
I just thought it was whimsical. Yes, I thought it was whimsical. It's a nice app because there's no sort of predicting what time. So there'll be 5 reminders a day that you're going to die. The way it comes up is you'll get this little, like, like a little notification noise. If you click on the notification, it'll take you to this black screen that will have a quote on it. And usually the quote, it's sourced from anything, books, poetry, plays.
Famous people.
And it somehow relates to death. It's not super obvious all the time, but it has something to do with life, living, death. If you don't open it, it'll still just say, like, if you don't open it and you just, turn, like, what do you do when you drag down your taskbar and you see all the little icons?
You, like, dismiss the notification without tapping it?
Yeah, if you don't tap it, the notification simply says, don't forget you're going to die. So half the time I don't even click on it. I just, like, look at the don't forget you're going to die.
Yep. 5 times a day.
5 times a day at random times. Sometimes it comes really close together, sometimes. But yeah, that's the app. It's a good app.
What do you think is the etiquette of, like, reminding other people that you're going to die?
That I'm going to die or that they are going to die?
That everyone is going to die.
The etiquette of this.
What's the etiquette of it? Is it an appropriate social thing to do? Is it an important social thing to do, to go up to people? And we should say, I think we're painting a weird picture of Hans. He was so nice. He was so nice.
He was drinking quite a bit.
He was drinking quite a bit, but he was quite nice. Like, like, all the interactions were not sketchy in any way. He was we actually we're so glad he talked to us, because otherwise we wouldn't have just spoken to people. We might not even played, but he was being very sociable in the best way, and it's unfortunate that we're beginning, but he was not being odd at all. But he was showing you that he had an alarm that said he was going to die, or all of us.
The etiquette. That's such a good question. Because it can come off a couple of ways. Like, there's a way in which you do it that's very passive-aggressive, right? Like, oh, how, this is so, XYZ thing that you're so concerned about is so minor, we're going to die. There's a way to do it, but that's not very...
Yeah, because then you're kind of dismissing someone's concerns about something.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you're not even really reminding people that they're going to die. What you're doing, you're saying this is unimportant.
Correct.
The thing that you're concerned about.
Yes, so there's a way to do that. My suspicion around why he was showing me his particular app was I think he wanted to find a way to make the discussion an important one, but didn't know how. It was like a shortcut.
Because he was trying to talk to us about, this was after he'd brought up, like, are people good and evil?
Yes.
Right? That was one of his opening, like, do you believe people are good or evil? And you very much wanted to continue that discussion.
I did, yeah.
And we spoke of how this was also how he walked into your prep, because I think when most people go into a bar and they're talking about are people good and evil, and he says something like, I read Hegel, people are people, and you really wanted to know more, and he was thrown off. I could tell he was, one takes it. Yeah, he looked confused. He looked kind of wide-eyed, and he started telling us about the story of how he had met pure evil once when he was a 13-year-old boy and went to the house of a serial killer, kind of by accident, like selling lottery tickets for his football club. And, but he sort of walked in and met the serial killer's wife, who was very frightened. Like, he said something about her eyes, he'll always remember, and that she bought all his remaining lottery tickets. And then later, when the serial killer was arrested, they realized he put it together that this was the guy. But I think the reason why he told that story was that is his, like, a go-to bar story of his. It didn't relate. He got it, he made the connection to are people good and evil, but he didn't know how to answer or to continue the conversation. He fell back on a normal or a regular, ordinary drinking story for him.
Yeah. I did wonder, like, why, I did wonder what it was about. I wanted to ask him at some point, like, follow up, like, what was it about her eyes that had anything to do with evil? Because what he probably just saw was somebody very sad, right?
Sad and frightened. And trapped and...
Like, but how do you turn that into evil?
He was talking about the serial killer as an example,
But how can you... But how... I didn't see a direct... Like, maybe I'm being too... like, I just didn't... He saw the impact of what potentially might have been somebody... Like, he saw the impact of what evil might be on somebody, but he didn't see evil...
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I wanted to ask more follow-up questions, but I also didn't.
But you could... So what we're getting at, sorry I swerved us off, is he was trying to have a conversation about serious things.
He was.
And so he brought up the fact that we're about to die.
That we're about to die.
And then we're about to die.
Yes.
We're making him sound like such a creep. He really wasn't. He really wasn't. Like, these are kind of... I mean, something I've always admired about you, Sophia, is you have really serious conversations with people. And serious in the sense that you really want to talk about the things that matter. And you'll do it with perfect strangers. And that is why this man walked into your prep, because he's never met anyone like you at a bar or otherwise who wanted to go there also. But that's what we all want in conversations. We don't want to begin as he did, but he, what do you do for work? No one really wants to have that. You have to get to a deeper conversation often. People are not ready to go there as fast as you.
Oh, Vivian,
Sophia.
I
Yes.
just remembered something else.
Yes.
I take your compliments very kindly, but whilst you were talking,
Yes.
I just remembered he actually asked us how old we were first. Mm-hmm. That was the first question.
That was the other thing. Was that the first one?
I think so. He was like, are you in school?
Yeah.
How did you meet? How old are you? And
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah, and he was, I should say, he was not a creep. He kept, especially when the two of you were talking, he would say something like, I don't want to ask an inappropriate question. And he really said it in
a way, we mean.
He meant it. He meant it.
Yeah.
And how old of us, because he was introducing himself, and he was saying, he said, one of the first things he said was, I'm closer to 60 than to 30, and I'm at the age when people can fall over and die at any time.
How it started.
That's how it started. And we said, I remember I said, people can fall over and die at any age.
Oh my goodness.
And
he walked into your prep.
And he said something like, well, you could tell it, I think I was trying to cheer him up, but you could tell it made him feel worse because he was looking at us and being like, these youthful people, people don't fall over and die as much at their age as my age. And as a side note, we realized on this trip that we think we're coming across as extremely young. Mm-hmm. We were so delighted to take this vacation. It's like we're working women in our 30s. Mm-hmm. We dressed up. We went to tea. We thought we were being kind of worldly and sophisticated. But because we are so delighted to see each other and to experience lovely Norway, we are just in wide-eyed delight at everything. And we're not always wearing makeup. We're wearing kind of casual clothes, and we are getting mistaken for students constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Just very young, but we are, ladies and gentlemen, we are not spring chickens.
We're not we can fall over and die.
We can fall over and die at any moment. But so can those youngins. Well, anyway, so this is all to say, Hans was really trying to have a conversation about things that matter, deep things in life that matter, of import. Mm-hmm. And I think he didn't know what to do with us. He was so, as much as I think we were having an amazingly strange, story-worthy night, for him, I think it's times 10. Because at least we're tours. We've never been. It's totally new to us. This is his regular.
Yes.
Hans and Christoph come, they've been playing for months together at this bar. They're buddies. And then walk these two weirdos. And someone accuses him of cheating. And...
Can you pause for a second? Oh, we need to talk about the cheese.
Yeah, we gotta do cheese.
Okay.
Maybe we'll even leave that in. But just to kind of round off the whole interactions, I think. So we're okay. We want to leave at 10 originally, which I know is a little early, but we're tired, we're jet lagged. We've been watching chess till what tournaments were ending at 10, so we were coming out trying to find something to eat. We're jet lagged. We're we have to go back and shower. We've had some longish days, not as long as a professional chess player, but longish days. And so at first we said, okay, 10 p.m. we'll leave, we'll go back, we'll have an early night. We've been on a train all day. And, but you're playing with Hans, and you're playing really well, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
No,
you're doing great.
No,
And I was standing there heckling.
Vivian, I really appreciate you saying I'm playing well, but you know what he was doing? He was doing what Pablo was doing, and that he was just waiting for me to make a mistake. And surely enough, I was making a mistake.
But still, it was, you guys were even. You were even up in material. And I couldn't tell, because you were kind of getting into it. You weren't playing with the clock, so you're playing a little slower. He was trying to, you were both focusing, or trying as hard as you could. And I just sat there, just calling out things. I would be like, kick his king! Which I
Take him to the dark forest where 2 + 2 is not equals 4.
Yeah, 2 + 2 = 5, and the path out is only wide enough for one. Mikhail Tal. Pawns are the soul of chess.
Oh my goodness.
Just sitting there shouting things at you guys. And I should say, this is our kind of our normal behavior.
Yeah.
We had one beer. We were just happy, and
had half
we
a
were
beer
happy.
even.
Yeah, you didn't even have your entire beer. But, we were just being animated, I think.
We were just happy.
We were happy. But what else did I yell at you guys? That was kind of it. I was proud of you.
It was great. You kept interjecting. It was fantastic.
I'd be like, you're even on material. Just, I can see what's going on with no understanding. But you're playing your game, and then I think he checkmates you or something, but then you guys got to switch colors and play again. Mm-hmm. So, we played past 10, but it's quite late for us. Mm-hmm. And I think at the end, you just sort of stood up and announced, like, now we must leave. Or something. You said something so abrupt. Because you felt bad that I was waiting, which I was very happy to. We were having a good time, and I didn't want to interrupt your game. And I think it was clear that it's not like we got up and left in a huff because we lost.
No, I thanked him. I think we shook hands.
You shook hands. It was a good game. It was a good game.
He had a very good handshake.
Did he?
He wasn't letting go. It was the whole thing. Yes.
What makes a good handshake?
Firm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're firm. Yeah. Not any of the sliding hands. It was a proper handshake. It was proper good handshake. I think it was, but I think. Yeah, I think we weren't rude. We weren't rude. We said we'd leave at 10.
Yeah, you shook his hand well, too. Mm-hmm. Can I just say that learning to shake hands is one of the only etiquette things I have formally been taught. Oh. When I was doing fellowships post-college, I was interviewing for fellowships. Uh-huh. The fellowships office, and nowhere near as much as some other colleges, but they tried to prep us a little, and I remember them telling us how to shake hands.
Wait, can we shake hands?
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing it, ladies and gentlemen, but what you do is, the space between your index finger and your thumb, sort of that gap, you want to put that right in the other person's gap.
Okay.
Like me.
This.
Yeah. Then you put your thumbs down, you close. Yeah. You shake, maybe once or twice, firmly, and then you let go.
The gap thing, great.
The gap, you must meet
at the gap.
Yes, you felt that?
Oh, wow! I love it! Oh, this is great!
It's kind of, and it's, now that I'm describing it, it seems like it's one of those things that as you're describing and trying to do it, it's harder.
Angle it a little?
But you a little, but I think it's, you open it very wide. You open it quite wide, and then you just go for it. See, you just clasp.
I like it!
It's easier than a high five in some ways.
So much easier.
You can do it without looking after a while. But as long as that part firmly meets, and then you shake firmly, everything's good. Oh, I've never had a sliding handshake. That's dreadful. People do that.
Yes, it's bad.
You graze your palm against someone else's. Oh, that's awful.
It's awful.
Oh, that's an unpleasant, overly intimate kind of like sliding hands motion.
Yes. If you watch though, when we were at Norway chess, all the women had the most sliding handshakes ever. Like,
did they?
They did.
I didn't look at the women's handshakes. Oh no!
Apparently, there's a thing that they do.
What's a thing?
I don't know. Apparently, they call it the chess handshake.
What?
It's barely a handshake. It's not a good thing.
What? The men don't do that.
Some of the men do.
What?
But the good one. Well, apparently Magnus has a very good handshake. But a lot of the others, for example, Ding has a very bad handshake, according to people. Ooh. But if you rewatch the handshakes, you'll see.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It's a confidence thing, I think.
Well, it's also a little bit of a social thing. It's a little bit of a social thing where I think in some cultures, and maybe, I don't know if it's a man or woman thing, but I've met some people who just put out their hand and when you hold it, you're just very lightly, gently, softly holding hands in your handshake, as I'm also showing you.
Yes,
just a very light, I feel like more women, they just gently put their hand in yours. Mm-hmm. It's not bad at all.
No.
I haven't noticed the slidiness. I think there's some players I like more and I watch them more and they just have normal firm handshakes, I think. And sometimes...
apparently Fabi has a good handshake. Fabi and Magnus have good handshakes.
Good. But also, like, I don't know, like, we're also watching a lot of players who've played each other a lot, and there's a little bit of a rivalry. So there's this firm, like, wham, handshake. Yes. Mm-hmm. But not rude, this is a good example of social etiquette, right? No matter what, before and after the game, you must shake your opponent's hand.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever seen... Oh, I'll have to look for the sliding handshakes.
You'll have to look for it again. They're not good.
I'm just shuddering thinking of them. But anyway, okay, so we end our game, we stand up to leave, and I feel like I do myself proud where I reach into my bag. This is a thing we'd planned. So we packed a lunch on the train, and we had 2 packages of leftover cheese. And when we get to our apartment, our hotel here, there's no minibar fridge, which I tried to request. I know it's not the greatest from the environment, but I go, all right, we have to get rid of this cheese, Vivian. Sophia. That's your name. We have to get rid of this cheese, and we didn't want to just chug it, and I thought, let's bring it to the bar and leave it at the bar, maybe
Maybe someone.
So as we're leaving, I feel like we must do something to, mark our parting. And I take out 2 packages of cheese and I hold them out in 2 hands, as I've been taught in my Chinese ways. You always offer things in 2 hands to be polite.
I didn't know this. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I hold them out to him and I say, Hans, would you like some cheese? And the look he gives is like, I think all night we've baffled him, but he goes and I'm like, it's from Stavanger. And then he goes like, oh, it's from Stavanger. It's just this, it's not exactly nasty supermarket cheese, but it's just your supermarket cheese. It's the kind that's pre-cut with the little pieces of plastic in between the slices. It's just your most pleb cheese. Mm-hmm. One of it's Bruno's, the brown cheese, and I think he even goes, oh, brown cheese. Which I thought people here ate it and liked it, but I've had some funny reactions where people, like the man on the train was like, oh, you eat brown cheese. I guess some people don't like it.
Or maybe they just think we don't know about it?
Maybe. I don't know. I can't tell if they're kind of thinking it's cute.
We're very confused about this, the reaction we're getting.
The reaction we're getting to brown cheese, which we, online, it's like everyone in Norway eats and likes brown cheese. But we offer him the cheese, and he's kind of like, no, I don't want your cheese. And I like start unwrapping it, and I put it on the table. I unpeel the plastic, and I go, we'll just leave it here. Maybe someone drunk will eat it. Here. Mm-hmm. In the way that one does it just like grad school parties.
Yeah.
And he's like scoffing at our cheese. And then you go, oh, do we need to clear the table? So you start asking us, do we leave our drinks here? And he goes, no, they'll clear it. They'll even clear the cheese. You cheese criminals. And he starts doing this whole, he's very funny. He's like, they're going to come and I'll say, who left this cheese? Not I. Cheese criminals. And he calls Pablo over, whom all night they've been calling him Obrigado. They don't call him by his name because he's from
Pablo.
Brazil, and they can't remember his name or they don't want to use it as a hierarchy thing. But all night they're like, Obrigado, and he answers to it very kindly. They go, Obrigado left this cheese, and Obrigado, he's great. He's like, no, I didn't leave this cheese. Who left this cheese? The cheese criminal left this cheese. And that's it. We leave the cheese, we buy some merch, and on the way out, I look at Hans, and I shake my finger at him, and I go, no double castling. And that's our night.
Vivian, what a night we had.
What a night. That's how we've been. That's our whole, how are you segment. And in just a couple of minutes we have left before we are off to explore Oslo. What do you think is the etiquette of talking to people at bars?
Well, certainly, we must remind them that we may drop dead at any minute.
At any minute, yeah.
Regardless of our age.
Regardless of our age, whether we ask for their age or not, or their occupation.
The first thing must always be.
Yeah. Do you know that, we're about to die?
We are about to die.
Or everyone could die at any moment.
Any moment.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
So whatever kind of bar you find yourselves in, and we should say the good night was wonderful. We had such a time. Lovely. 11 out of 10 would good night again. Mm-hmm. Delightful experience. We just a great bar to talk to people. Like, I don't think I necessarily always would, but this was you will find someone to talk to and play chess with and remind them that they'll die.
Imminently.
There we are. This was No Etiquette. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your reactions or your questions or your favorite bar topics at noetiquettepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining us, listeners, coming to you from Oslo, Norway. Be good to yourselves, and until next time, remember, it is good etiquette to remind people that they will die.